Okay, guys, bear that in mind when we're talking about technology and Gen AI and all the rest of it in our next discussion. I was in the UK last weekend and getting the train from Stansted Airport into Liverpool Street, and I passed along the way a little-known town in Essex called Harlow. And Harlow was where in 1983, went to study newspaper journalism for 1 year. It was called a pre-entry certificate, equipping you for a career in newspaper journalism. Mark did exactly the same course in a different location. And I was thinking back because I was passing through this station about those times 40 years ago, and remembering that in the classroom that we had at the time, we were each equipped with a typewriter. And modern technology then was a four-way carbon copy where you would type once and you would automatically produce four copies of the same script because we didn't have photocopiers back then. And then I was remembering, it took me down nostalgia way to one of my first jobs when I worked for the BBC as I was a junior producer on a program called Panorama. And I was in the north of Scotland filming a film about protecting the environment. And I was given the very first mobile phone, which was actually a suitcase where you would take the handset and dial very big buttons and you could speak to me. It was incredible, the idea of being in the very far north of Scotland and able to have a telephone call with somebody. These were revolutionary technologies of the time. And then it started to occur to me just how much of a dinosaur that makes me feel as an individual to have lived in my career through these different changes of technology, really basic innovations that we now consider to be incredibly old-fashioned. And we're now in a time, as the minister was referring to, where really the pace of that technological change is even faster. I try to keep up to date myself because I'm interested in it, in what is happening in the field of broadcast and digital technology. And really, if you leave it, if you stop reading the right newsletters or if you stop having conversations, in 3 months, you're pretty much out of date. So the pace of change is so rapid, and it's very difficult for us, I think, particularly people who come from the editorial side of the business, to try and grasp the very many changes that are happening. But I think we absolutely have to, even as editorial people, because actually technology is one of the big drivers of our industry today. So because of that, we set up this thing called ENEX Innovation Exchange, which Joe Schmaltz is going to talk to you about and host a panel about, because actually it's really complicated trying to make sense of what technology businesses, media businesses should buy, what workflows should they implement, how do they handle this issue, as the minister was explaining, of generative AI, maybe not getting it right all the time, the final authorization of a human journalist. All of these things are real issues and we have to deal with them. And it's really complex. And that's exactly why we sent this initiative up, which is a series of webinars and physical events. And here is a example of a physical event. So Joe, I'll let you explain more on what it's all about.
You tricked me into hosting a tech AI panel after the thought-provoking speech about the truth, the death of
Yes.
death of the
Yeah.
truth. That is a hard ask, a tough ask. I'll pay you back by hosting this session for the next 3 hours until just before lunch. And we could easily do that. We had a living document to prepare amongst the panelists and myself to talk about the topics and to define the topics that we wanted to cover. And it became a document of, I'm not going to say a heated debate, but certainly a debate. So that just goes to show that the topic that we have, one second, I need to, the topic that we have at hand here, we're not able to cover that in 40 minutes, let alone 35 minutes, which I think we have left now. But I wanted to give a quick update on why are we doing this. We've launched the Innovation Exchange last year in Shanghai. And when we launched it, we set out to talk to a lot of the CTOs and the senior tech leaders in the organization that are in the room today, and always ask them the same question. What keeps you up at night? What are the big projects? What are the big changes? What are the big topics that are on your radar as a senior tech leader in a news organization? And Can you flip this for me? I don't think this works. Oh, there we go. 1 second, can you go back? There we go. Okay, thank you. We set up the Innovation Exchange to talk about this, and we listened to the topics that are relevant for you guys and set up a series of events and a series of roundtables and case studies. And we had hosted a lot over the last year, starting with RTL talking about 5G, the Antenna Greece talking about AI indexing, ProTV joined, Dina from Al Arabiya joined. And today we're continuing to, in this spirit of sharing and exchanging information, but the topics change, and the topics are changing fast, as Dr. Broster and Adrian alluded to. And today we're talking about a frontier technology, AI-assisted future of media on the Innovation Exchange. We'll do it in true Innovation Exchange style. We'll have very few slides, a few videos, but we have 4 panelists who are actually real. They're no bots, they're no agents, they're real. And the best thing is they will be around until or even after dinner, most of them, because I believe that the next 40 minutes are going to be a bit interactive, I hope, with you, but it needs to be a discussion that is coming from both sides of the table. We know newsrooms and newsroom processes from one side of the table, but everyone in the room has a very distinct view on that as well. So I think the sharing is most important. Maybe one spoiler alert: we won't be talking about the death of truth. Not because it's not important, it's part of the AI discussion, but I think that's probably a separate discussion that is not just 40 minutes, but much longer. We're going to talk about automation, processes, efficiencies, productivities, which is as important for the survival of media. But just to make sure that we're not expecting us to cover a lot of the topics that Dr. Broska talked about. A quick disclaimer: when we first started talking about AI in Shanghai last year, since then I've had a little bit too much of the Kool-Aid, of the AI Kool-Aid to drink. So I actually joined the company that's going to be on stage today as well. And I hope that Alex and Claire and Daniel are going to call me out if I give MomentsLab too much space on this panel. But I'm sure with a lot of journalists in the room who are trained to keep an eye on conflict of interest, I feel safe that I'm going to be called out. I wanted to start with a video, and I think some of you might have seen it. It's only 3 weeks old. At the IBC in Amsterdam, the IBC hosts accelerators, and accelerators are really a bunch of broadcasters and a bunch of solution providers coming together to address a topic that's relevant, and they build something that's not a product, but it's maybe a proof of concept. Some of it is being held together by strings and tape, but it works, and it gives you a glimpse of the future, what can happen and what will happen over the next couple years. Do we have audio?
And together, we built an orchestrator agent and told it how to run our agentic system. We built an orchestrator agent and told it how to run our agentic system.
Connect to the IBC C4 News episode.
The orchestrator is controlled through natural language, including voice, maximizing speed and accessibility.
Please look for all graphic L3 blocks and check for spelling mistakes in the text.
For this task, the orchestrator fetches data from the running order agent and passes it to the checking agent.
No, it won't.
Using the feedback from the checking agent, the orchestrator can now go back to the user, in this case displaying the errors it found and offering to fix them.
Correct them for me.
The orchestrator then tells the running order agent how to patch the mistakes. We see the agents working together to make the fixes in real time, to get the right information to air quickly.
And they've changed. Could you check IBC C4 episode for any clip blocks that are missing video assets?
The orchestrator now asks the rundown agent to identify any missing clips in the program and alerts the user.
Could you suggest a video for that?
The orchestrator now requests the presenter script from the running order and passes it onto the content discovery agent with the request for a clip. The content discovery agent generates the clip for the user to review.
There's some faces in that. Can you blur them?
The orchestrator can also talk to the video enhancer agent.
Let's see if it can do blurring.
The orchestrator hears this new request and understands that it should pass the clip over to the video enhancer agent, telling it how to manipulate the video, in this case, to blur a face.
Wow, that's amazing. Could you add that video to the item?
The orchestrator then gets the newly created video and adds it back to the running order for playout in today's program. Agents communicating with other agents. Our full agentic system collaborating to get content to air.
Right. QR shot. Russia's largest drone attack on Ukraine hit the main government building in Kyiv for the first time, and it seems Putin is in no mood.
Thank you. With that glimpse into the future, I don't know how much you got of the details, but it is a revolutionary technique that I don't think has ever been shown before, except for at IBC 3 weeks ago. With that, I would like to welcome the panel to the stage. That's Alex Redfern, the CTO of EVS. That's Claire Humphries, product manager for news and production at Grass Valley. That's Daniel Orl from Fonn Group, the Chief Product Officer, and Fred Petitpont, the founder and CTO of MomentsLab. Can I throw it to Alex first? As a CTO of EVS, which I think everyone knows in the room, and a lot of content and media management distribution platforms in the organizations of the ENEX members are running with or alongside EVS. I think it's fair to say that wherever you're spending your time on right now is something that the CTOs will see in a year's time, maybe, or in 6 weeks' time? Or is it the other way around? Are you looking to hear what's next from this audience?
A bit of both, for sure. I think what's interesting, so I'm Alex from EVS, and you may know us as the sports replay people. Most people do, but actually it's about half of what we do. And the rest is in media asset management, in live production, in the very, very close to live domain, I would say. What's interesting for us is a lot of the work that we've done around AI comes from speed. It comes from the live domain where speed is really important. And so a lot of that is driven by sports production, but actually becomes relevant to everything. The faster we can make something, the better. So a lot of the technologies and a lot of the AI technologies that we pioneer, at least, that we develop in-house with our innovation teams, come from a sports domain first. But the blurring agent that you saw there, the video blurring agent, that's one of our agents. We can do object tracking, we can do facial recognition, things like that with an agent. And tracking a ball or a player in sports, it doesn't actually matter. Once you develop the agent, it doesn't actually matter what you're tracking, just that you're tracking something. So if you can use an agent to say, please track a face, it tracks a face. And if you can then apply an effect to that face, like a blur, we see, and we can do it very, very quickly, close to real time. They're the kind of trends I see. So a lot of the AI trends that at least we look at are how to do things quickly, and we're doing that with an AI platform. So right now we have the product is called Extra Motion, and again it's mostly used in live sports because it's about making super slow motion. But the deblurring effect, we offer a sharpening effect. We offer what we call a cinematic effect where we blur the background. I've seen that used in news environments, in entertainment environments, to when the background becomes too distracting. There was a good example used where there was some footage in the background of smoke of quite disturbing scenes, and actually we can start to use things like a cinematic effect to blur the background to pull focus to the reporter. Those things don't take additional training to go from sports to news. That's what's really interesting. Once the model is implemented, it's something that we can switch from one to the other, one application, one market application to the other. And then if I take the video, there's a video I think of the 9x16. One of the other agents that we had in the IBC accelerator was an agent to go from 16x9 to 9x16 for social media publishing. So I'm sure we'll talk about being story centric. A lot of that is being story centric means that I have to deliver to social media, to my digital platforms as well as live. well, live is always 16 by 9, but actually I want to distribute that content very quickly. The idea of doing 16 by 9 to 9 by 16 with not just a simple center crop, but actually using AI to assess what's in the video to know how to do that. Previously, I mean, that took hours of painstaking keyframing in an editor. It would have taken hours to do that. We can see from the video, if you want to play the video, we can see from the video here, this is on the left-hand side, as you look at it, is the 16 by 9 content. On the right-hand side, the extreme right, is a center cut, which is what the quickest way to do it traditionally would just be a center cut without editorial work. And in the middle is the AI 9 by 16. And you'll see it survives across camera cuts. So this is on a program feed. It's not trained on a specific sport, on a specific instance. It's not trained on anything particular. The learning that we have put into the model, it's like teaching a camera operator how to focus a camera. That's what you're doing in the machine learning phase, is teaching it what to do. This is applicable to sports. It's applicable to news. It's a model that can be reused, and it becomes an agent that we can connect to say, okay, use this agent. And what we are working on, one of the things that we are working on, is multiple of those agents and how we deploy them, how we link them together.
Claire, I think you could probably sit on both sides of the table here, with background in BBC, ITV, but more recently in user adoption at Grass Valley and Avid. I'm wondering what your thoughts are on the actual adoption. I think for something like what Alex showed is not much about adoption, but there's other AI, more complex technologies where it's all about adoption in the newsroom.
Thanks, Joe, and thank you for inviting me here today. It's a pleasure to be here and to meet all of you ENEX members. You're right in that I think there's two very separate areas that are at Grass Valley are equally important to us. So there's the user adoption for AI, especially what that looks and feels like in the news environment and at different levels. Adrian, I'm looking at you. We had a conversation at lunchtime where you mentioned that if you ask a room of engineers or CTOs in a news broadcaster how much AI is in use in your organization, they might say very little because the team aren't authorized to use it. If you ask the people in the newsroom, hands up who's using AI when you create content, and all the hands go up. So there's the people side of things. The governance that's important and where it's being used. And then for us in GV, it's about, so there's the user adoption. What tools are there that we can offer, certainly from an asset management perspective, access to content, quicker turnaround of retrieving content, transcription, translation, all those things that speed up the user and their ability to get content to air faster and to a broader reach. And then there's also the technology side. So when we're looking at AI models for our broadcast customers, news customers, other genres, is your AI service running in the cloud? What are the cost implications of that? What are the security implications? We know that many customers want to have their compute kept locally. I think this afternoon you've got another session with some of the more geopolitical challenges around operating in times of no guarantees of internet connection, let's say. So having your compute locally and being able to keep your AI agents on-prem, that's not just a security issue. It's not just a continuity of service. There's also cost involved. So there's certainly a great difference around the people side of things and their adoption of AI, and then the technical deployment of AI. Coming back to the death of truth, as we heard earlier, I think that might be a catchphrase for the rest of today. We spoke earlier, and between the panel, we've been talking about where we see the difference in AI as an assistant, as a research assistant, as a supporter that can uncover inconsistencies, find content very quickly, annotate content across an entire organization, which would have taken us hours, if not days, back in the day with our VHS with burnt-in time code and a pen and paper, as I first learnt to archive. Editorially, I think there's a blurry line between having journalists and producers, them having permission to use AI as an assistant, go find me this, do this, and then AI with an editorial perspective. What's going to go in my broadcast today? What's included in my rundown? What's going to go out first on network or national? And I'm quite interested to hear, certainly from this audience, what your thoughts are around that editorial level of permissive use of AI.
Yeah, my guess is that the technology like dynamic reframing is not problematic in terms of adoption, but when it comes to suggesting content and adopting your rundown for the news based on AI research, I'm curious to see a show of hands who is currently working with AI when it comes to suggesting stories, setting topics. RTL Germany is, or not?
Yes, we have a hot topic discoverer. Is it it's called? Thanks. Simon from RTL Germany. Hi, nice to meet you. So we have a thing called Hot Topic Discoverer, and we are just in a stage of we're trying out. So, and what does it mean? It means that in our rundown system, where all the sources are coming in, there is a like a heat map. So one is green, one is red, one is I don't know, and it depends on your story, and it suggests the sources, for example.
Interesting. I think that's a discussion that will continue beyond this panel. Thanks, Claire. Daniel, yesterday I heard you, coincidentally, I heard you sing this song, which basically goes, if you use an AI agent, you're unlocking new creativity in how you can tell stories. Tell us more about that. And Daniel is CPO of Fonn Group. Amongst the products is Mimir and Saga, which I suspect is in many of the newsrooms in your organizations.
Yeah. Thank you very much, and thank you for having me. Let me say, first of all, I really believe that what we do with AI, and we don't have an own AI, I have to say, so most of the companies don't have own AI. So that means we use models from others, we train them, and we give you the possibility to use those models. It doesn't matter if it's in our media asset management system, Mimir, or in the newsroom system, Saga. What you use, it's up to you. So that means we are defining ourselves always as Switzerland of AI. So we partner with everyone, but it's up to you with whom you want to partner. So that means it's also your decision with what kind of AI models you want to work. So we have probably at the moment something like 30 or 40 different AI modules included within our system, which you can turn on and off, and the account is normally or stays with you. And I can tell you every week there's another 3. They're coming and they're going. It's quite interesting what is happening there. But we strongly believe that it helps you a lot. And I can give you an analogy from our own company. We are a rather young company. We are only 7 years old. And we took probably the most difficult products which you can have as our target, which is newsroom and media asset management. It's sticky like hell. So that means if you go into a newsroom and you ask who want to change the system, normally you don't see any hands because they just don't want to change. But they all want to work story-centric. So then you have to change. And you don't have to change only the system, you have to change the way of working. And if I reflect it to our company at the moment, we use AI for development. And this is a little bit like within your newsroom. So AI for development means there's creative work going into the system, and the AI develops code for us. And then it's up to you as a user what you want to do with it. If you are named Microsoft, and you can watch it in the press, they cut 6,000 developers because AI will develop now. We used it too, but we realized that the quality we are getting out from AI when we do development is not at that level which we want to have. And we need really highly scaled people on the development level to understand if what the AI develops for us is the right way to go, or if there is really if they run in the wrong direction. And I think in the newsroom or in your environment, it's exactly the same. So you can use AI to get content out, to get better, quicker, to research better. This is all possible. And you can use the AI modules, which are at the moment in the market, and everybody knows them as a descriptive AI. So that means face detection, object detection, transcription, these kind of things. Let's call it commodity AI, because I strongly believe they will be all free of charge down the road. As the hyperscalers means the Googles of this world and Amazons of this world, they only want to keep you for processing and for storage, and therefore they need to give you something back, and that's the commodity AI. And then you have other AI, which is the creative AI part of it, where you really get something back, where the AI does something for you, where the AI helps you to create content. And for an example, when you talk about story-centric, you have a master story, and out of that master story, you want to quickly create a lot of different versions. In the past, they were siloed. Every team did another version of the same content. Not really efficient and not really a red line through your complete content creation. AI helps you, but is it required that someone still has a last look at it? If it makes sense, would you bring on AI? Yeah, absolutely. So the question for me is AI now evil because it helps you to create content? And of course, bad companies would say, well, then we can cut costs. Or is AI good because it helps you to be more efficient and then use the time to be more creative? That's in our eyes, that's up to you. So we give you the tools, and how you use it, that's a little bit up to you guys. But with all the customers we have, and when we see the usage, as we have a cloud native system, so we can see the usage for what they are using AI. All the customers who have our systems use in the meantime AI, all of them. And all of them most likely to get better, to get faster, to get better content and more content out, but not so much to cut costs. Fun enough.
Thank you. Fred, I can't pretend I'm not on top of what's going on at MomentsLab, but I'm wondering, when you founded MomentsLab pretty much at the same time that Fonn Group or that Mimir was founded, it was already with an AI DNA, if I can say that. But looking back now, did you expect an AI agent talking to another AI agent 8 years later?
Yeah, thank you for having me. And yeah, it's a very good question. And I think like that technology is just a way to achieve things. Funny thing, I think everyone knows NVIDIA in the room, but I was discussing with someone from NVIDIA in New York, and he was telling me, do you watch Brad Pitt movies? Well, like with a strong American accent. I said, well, I've been watching a few movies with Brad Pitt. Do you know the rule of Fight Club? Yeah, don't talk about Fight Club. I said, well, it's the same with AI. So I'm going to try to pronounce those two letters the less I can, talk about like use cases. And the interesting thing in our history is like AI, that technology was embedded natively in the product we built. And during COVID, so we're working a lot for press agencies, they asked us to start storing all the content, not just enriching that. And at that time, we needed a search engine that was able to find moments across thousands of hours. So we ended up using that technology, developing our own model, video understanding. And then as people were searching for content, they asked us, well, I like searching for moments, but could I prompt the system? Because I do have like thousands of hours of video and I just want to build, I don't know, a story about Trump tariffs, for example. So I just want to prompt, but with my own video content, right? And that's what we did. So recently we launched our content discovery agent, which was actually in the video before. It's just that you don't see it. And the beauty about that is when you're using a new tool, you don't want to use a new UI. You don't want to get, let's say you do have your HR timesheet to fill in or holidays. You don't want to go to yet another website and so on. And the beauty about conversational agent is actually you talk in natural language, so you don't need to learn to use new tools. And that's a good way to surface content. We do have a quick video to share how it looks like. It's just 1 minute, 30 seconds. And then I'll catch you
AI tools have changed the way we search. We've gone from typing keywords into search engines to simply asking for what we need. But for teams working with video, the search evolution hasn't kept up. hours of great footage remains hidden by outdated folder structures, meaningless metadata, or reliant on that one colleague who knows how and where to look. It's time for change. Meet the MomentsLab Discovery Agent, your personal research assistant for video that knows your entire media library. Powered by MXT Multimodal AI Indexing, the Discovery Agent finds the right clip, quote, or scene in seconds. Simply ask it a question, request a theme, or describe what you're looking for, and it'll deliver exact moments. It can suggest what to create, uncover hidden gems you didn't even know you had, and bring context to your stories, pulling insights from beyond your own archive. So whether you're repurposing footage for a recap, a best-of compilation, trailer, documentary, shorts, or reels, forget about all that time spent scrolling and scrubbing. Find the moment, not just the file, with the MomentsLab Discovery Agent.
So there was a lot to share on that, because I mean, so it's been 3 months that we have hundreds of users using that. We do have thousands and thousands of prompts. It's like, how do you improve your product when you do have thousands of conversation? Well, you need to adapt. You need to basically have a human capacity to understand all those prompts. So you need to develop like agents that understand other agents. So it's like, in terms of product development, that's very, very new. But also in terms of adoption, that's really interesting, because you can see how people interact with the system. You can see like people asking for features that we don't use yet, like face blurring, for example. And what was really exciting with that IBC accelerator is, well, you do have one agent that is communicating in total autonomy with like the EVS agent that was blurring faces. And what is really, really new is like they don't connect directly each other. They are talking to each other. They are referenced to each other. You don't have any API requests between the two, and that's really, really impressive. So it's totally changing the game and changing possibilities of what we could do with agentic.
So if I were sitting on the other side of the table, one of my big questions would be, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I have existing platforms, existing systems, existing workflows. Now looking at that first ABC video, and you said the agents were invisible and you probably didn't even see the EVS agent who was in that video as well. Does that mean collaboration, system integration, all of this will become easier or more complex? How do you see that? Because I do know that's a pain point for broadcasters whenever there's any change, really. Who wants to go first?
I can start if you like. I think the systems integration part, traditionally systems integrators, and systems integrators, as well as systems integration, it was cables in racks. It was installing things in racks, and it was the cables between the racks or between the equipment and the switch, and switch to switch, and so on. Very, very traditional systems integration infrastructure. I think increasingly there needs to be a layer of software integration. But to the point that Fred made about, those things in the past were very static. I would have to build a workflow from end to end that defined that you transfer it to me, I blur it, I transfer it back to you. There would be very linear and lots of parallel defined workflows that we had to build, and someone would have to build them. The first thing is there would have to be an orchestrator of that. And that might be a traditional systems integrator. It might be a software integrator. It might be a vendor who takes the lead. Whereas I think now, the opportunity is for exactly what we talked about. Everyone sits in their little realm, but there is one orchestrator above the top who starts to pass the information, say, you two talk to each other on this, you two talk to each other on that, and this is the output. And we don't need to build and define really static workflows. Publishing to social media, previously, each social media platform had its own definitions of this must be square, this must be 9:16, this can only be 140 characters. All of those things go out the window now, and we don't have to define it. Systems integration will be interesting because who takes the lead? Who is the orchestrator? And we said in that one, I think it's Google was the orchestration layer, right? Does it need to be a level up from us as vendors? Does it need to be something that you need to take ownership of? Because it's your orchestrator and it's you that needs to get the best out of it. They are the unknowns for me at the moment that will be interesting discussions. I don't know how you feel about it.
Yeah. You want that? It's a really good question around systems integration, I have to say, because I strongly believe this changes a lot. At the moment, if you have a systems integrator, you have them mainly for one main reason. You need someone guilty if it won't work. So someone needs to be liable. On the software integration level and on those modern platforms, there is one more topic coming in, which on one side everybody wants, and on the other side everybody fears. And this is those systems are a living animal. So that means it continues all the time. On our platform, we do up to 4 updates a week. You do at the moment on your media asset management system 1 update every 2 years. So if you then talk about AI agents, if you then talk about AI modules, I can't tell you what will be the biggest and best AI module for, I don't know, face detection next year. There might be a new kid on the block. There might be something what you need to quickly adapt. And this is exactly what those platforms will do for you. And this is not so much a systems integration job anymore. That's a software integrator. And either that skill set on your own, or we have, of course, we see companies going exactly in that direction. They do exactly software systems integration. If you need them, it's hard to get them, I need to be honest, but we see that this complete field of systems integration dramatically changes because, I mean, Amazon or Microsoft won't ask a systems integrator anymore to put the servers into a rack. This is over.
So everything will be cheaper, faster, and less painful for broadcasters?
I think that speed certainly is, excuse me, speed, certainly we're going to see fast improvements. At the moment, we have customers that come to us and say, we want to have this best of breed and this best of breed. We have maybe no precedent for an integration. So as product manager, I'll then go away and talk to R&D or our, excuse me, our partner alliances manager will get involved. And then we have a longish conversation about how we can integrate. Is it in both of our corporate strategies that there's merit in us integrating, not just because a customer or more customers have asked for it? Now, with the speed of coding, we can develop faster using AI agents, and the fact that we all have APIs, right? Now we have ADKs, so agent development kits. Because we can have agents talking to agents, when customers do come to us with a specific request, maybe for an integration that doesn't currently exist, our answer is far more likely to be yes than the previous, we'll go away and have a think about it. So I think that speed of delivering function to our broadcast news customers will be a huge amount of improvement.
But let me answer your question. You said, will it be cheaper? And I'm absolutely sure yes. So look, go 5 years back, go 4 years back. The big buzzword was not AI. The big buzzword was cloud. And everybody said, oh, it's really expensive. And we don't know how to calculate that. And still, when you talk with people about a systems integration job or about a new platform, the first question is, how much is it? Because your CFO in the back is asking for that. And you get from all of the vendors, you get normally an answer which says, depends. It depends what you do with it. It depends how much you do with it. It depends what you use and so on. But all the calculations which we did for our platform, we do media asset management, so we need to deal with all the files, and we do newsroom. That means all the time a lot of users. Those systems, it's funny enough, when you do then the calculation, and this is a job for 1-2 days, sitting down with the customer together, when you do those calculations, you figure out that the system is always cheaper than what you have today. Because if you then calculate on an 8 years TCO, which you normally do, 5 years or 8 years, depends, then you need to do the infrastructure invest, then the initial project, the licenses, then the upgrade project comes around the corner, which is always pain, costs always a lot of money. With modern platforms, this is in a way gone. Yeah. So that means you have a much more leaner process. And yes, those systems are cheaper. Now the next bubble comes around the corner. So no one is asking, at least us, no one is asking us anymore, is cloud cheaper or more expensive? And can you help us calculating it? Now the next question is, what about AI? Is it cheaper or not? Well, depends. It depends what you do with it. So if you do the standard stuff, for an example, transcription, oh yeah, do it on premises or do it in the cloud, do it for free. Do it with your own trained model if you want. This is commodity in a way. When we talk about stuff which really creates value for you, yeah, then yes, this is not for free, but this has been never for free. Yeah. Also, when you create value, it's not for free. So that means, will there be costs involved? That's for sure. But it also helps you in a story-centric workflow, for an example, to create better, faster, more content. This is what everybody's crying for. So I really believe that if you just size the system and you really need to draw a red line and say that's the past and that's the future, if you really do a calculation from scratch, yes, it is cheaper.
You have to be ready for your, we said maybe business models was later, but you have to be ready for your business models to shift though, because if you keep doing capex investments every 5 years that you then keep for 8, because everyone does the business case over 5 and keeps it for 8 to 10 years, and then it's profitable. You have to be ready to spend money every single year, because that is with AI. You will be spending every year. And something that I see with AI, there's a good tool here, there's a good tool here, there's a good tool here. It's $100 here, it's $100 here, it's $100 here. You know, it's your Disney, your Netflix, your Amazon, and suddenly you're spending, you know, €100 a month, €200 a month. That's where, for me, the risks come in a little bit. You have to be prepared to spend regularly, and you have to be prepared to diversify your spending. The point of, you know, someone to take the fall, you're going to be spending with AI with probably a little bit with more people, rather than going to a broadcast vendor and saying, I want everything with you. And that is something, because the best of breed approach will be everywhere, that will be a mindset change for broadcasters to go through, because it's just not that, you know, at the moment, it's still in the mindset of, I'm going to invest now, it's a big sum of money, and then I'm good for 8 years, and we're done.
And I don't touch it anymore.
And I don't touch it. Yeah, it doesn't change.
Is it unfair to ask if the future looks a little bit like BMW starting to charge for the heating of the seats, which I think they gave up after some protest? Is that the model that you envision for agents for AI?
I think you'll turn a lot of services on and then forget that you're using them, and you'll be paying for them, you know, because vendors want to make money as well. It has to work both ways. So I think there'll be services. You need to be more across the consumption of your services, and it's our responsibility to make you aware of the consumption of those services, to be fair. But yeah, there'll be more. I mean, that's the nature of SaaS and OpEx and all of those kind of things, is more granular spending per feature.
I mean, you need to be able to calculate it. And this is, at the end, also your job. So one very easy example, take face detection at AWS, standard service. You can access it, costs $6 an hour, and you can face detect. And then you have a better AWS deal, and you probably only pay $5, but it costs a lot of money. And if you then talk to some of the customers who said, well, this is getting really, really expensive. And what they did, they turned it on for all the content they ingested. I said, so for what for? So what is the usage behind it? Why do you do that? Why do you face detect 100% of your content? Makes probably no sense. Yeah. And then you can see when they think about it, if it's necessary to use it or not. Then it changes quite quickly. If they then finally see how much it costs, then it changes. And yes, it is our job to tell you how much it is. It is our job to help you predicting those costs. Yeah, that's for sure. But yeah, this is it's an education mainly from your end, because it's not just a tool where you say, well, it was a one-time investment of 50K and then it's done. It's a continuous cost which is getting involved. Netflix, when you have that at home, is also costing everyday money. Yeah. If you want it or not, and if you want to get rid of it, you better cancel the subscription. And with AI, it's exactly the same.
I think it's a nice segue to the other discussion we had before, and slightly moving away to more talking about creativity impacts and efficiency versus productivity. And I think we had a very nice discussion prepping the call, because anytime you're talking about agents, about prompts, about ChatGPT, well, there are questions about jobs. And I think that it's a very interesting question, this one. And the way usually we've been measuring as human efficiency is taking what looks like and what it replaces. Talking about BMW, an engine is measured in horsepower because it was replacing horses. But a car brings more value than just, the horses you do have in front of a carriage. And I think that's where I wanted to touch base on something that we discussed preparing, is of course, those technology allows to go faster, but I think the ROI measurement should not stick to efficiency and purely efficiency. Less of truth, we were talking about that earlier. There are former journalists from the New York Times that were comparing the communication strategy to what they called a fire hose of falsehood. And when you're a journalist, you need to spend a lot of time actually debunking those news, fact-checking, and well, I mean, either you do like proper editorial job or you need to debunk stuff that you perfectly know or almost sure you know that are not true. And that's where I think there is one thing that is really interesting in that side of things. Like, okay, you can go back to what you were saying about abortion like 20 years ago. And usually to do that, you would take a phone call and call archivists or sometimes the people that are not here anymore. I've heard that at Fox, they were hiring people that were retired to actually help them annotate content that was lost. And that capacity to surface content back in time is really helpful. One use case that is interesting, I think everyone in the room know Javier Milei, you know, the Argentinian president with the chainsaw, and built a lot of his campaign around one sentence. So of course in Spanish, but I'm not going to say it in Spanish, but there is a state is not the solution, the state is a problem. And actually, when you're using, we tried using our agent, and actually it surfaced back to Ronald Reagan. Ronald Reagan was saying exactly the same thing in 1981. But the thing is, you need to have the memory for that. And well, if the journalist is my age, there is no way that he has known Ronald Reagan at that time. So you might not think of that initially, or you might not have the time to actually look back and deep dive on that. Another example, we were talking about the World Economic Forum before. It's like it's a quote from Loic Barbu at Bloomberg. He's saying, well, we do have 3 journalists to cover the whole 40 panels. How can we have the time to actually deep dive in every panel? And the idea for them is, okay, maybe I do have an agent that can actually look back to what Bill Gates said during the last 2 panels and can compare it to the panel that were last year. So the agent, don't get me wrong, is not going to create the story per se, but is going to aggregate all the news that was there because it has access to internet, it has access to its previous memory, etc., etc. One other example from Bloomberg is when you want to build a Apple financial report at the end of the year. Well, you need at least 3 people. You need a financial analyst, you need an archivist, you need a video editor, and someone that knows where the country is, the content is. Well, what if you can actually create, well, can you explain all the news that happened and find video that could illustrate that would explain Apple financial report? And what we're talking about here, I think, is beyond efficiency. It's more about getting another story, another angle that maybe you wouldn't have time to actually look for.
Yeah, it's enabling creativity. This is we have been yesterday together at a customer in the UK, and it's probably also a really good example. They have a huge sports archive. They are absolutely sure that they know everything about the archive because they have Opta feeds in the back, so everything is getting, of course, tagged, and they know everything about the archive. We said, yeah, now find me Pep Guardiola crying. And now find me Pep Guardiola crying in 5 different games because he's been probably crying as he just lost the championship. So good luck with it. This is not in your metadata. There you have a system where you could find that. So this is exactly that creativity advantage you get, and this is probably also that mind shift change which needs to happen on the customer side. Not always saying, well, it's evil. No, it's not, because you just need to use it in the right way.
But how much of that, yes, additional ability to tell new stories, how much does that cover up the fact that, yes, it will cost jobs as well? And Bloomberg may only have 2 people covering Davos because they can do it, what they do with AI. And I think, Claire, you had a point in the discussion earlier to say this is not just an immediate problem, but it's also a problem for careers in broadcast organizations.
Yes, and in terms of, we talked earlier about efficiency versus productivity, and what this looks like, and at what point where we're recognizing efficiency. For example, I don't need, as a news broadcaster, to engage the services of a language translation agency. Someone in my newsroom doesn't need to send my piece of video content outside of the building to that language agency who then process it and then send it back into the building. So that's cost and human resource I've saved. But what about the skill set involved? What else can that operator or contributor who was previously working on that, what could they be doing differently in that time back?
I think efficiency is a clean way of saying reduction in many cases. When we talk about efficiency, it's most of the time efficiency is a very nice way of saying we want to make some people redundant and save some costs. And we can all debate that, but that is generally the truth. People talk about efficiencies in that way. I think I personally would like to see AI used more for productivity, where the people that we have a more creative output, can do more with their work. So an increase in productivity and probably an increase in creativity as well. And, for the sustainability, the long-term sustainability of our industry, which we are all in, those jobs, to your point, those jobs are the bottom ones. They're the entry jobs that go first. So in 15 years' time, who will be the senior journalists? Who will be the on-air talent? How will that progress if we are pulling the rug from under us by using AI for efficiency measures versus using it for creativity?
Yeah. I mean, this will for sure happen. Like I said, we don't see that so much at the moment with the customers we work, because they really use that power and the time they generate because of AI. They use that to really put that into creativity, into more content, to better content. But hey, absolutely, this will happen. I mean, just go a few years back, where a lot of the customers here introduced studio automation. Yeah, I mean, that cost probably 50% of the staff in your gallery. And here it's exactly the same. So this is, I mean, you can go back in time. It doesn't matter if it's studio automation, if it's different editing possibilities. In the past, you have been with analog tapes and so on. Yes, all of that at the end created efficiency. Yeah, and at the end, people lost their job. I mean, we should be really honest about that. And with AI down the road, you will see that happening too. That's for sure. Yeah. The question is how you use it.
So quick last round the table, 10 seconds each. We're discussing AI and agents this year. What are we discussing next year?
I think it's going to be governance on agents, because agents are entering the enterprise world. They are entering organization charts for real. And we might have to decide whether you can accept this type of agent or this type of agent. And I think it's going to come quite faster when maturity around agenting comes faster.
Yeah, I think orchestration of those agents, the agents are the cool things at the moment. The abilities that they have are very cool, but who and what is responsible for making them all talk together?
I'm with Fred on governance, technical governance and human governance for the use of AI, and also possibly sustainability.
Organization and representation. Yeah, I mean, use it. At the moment, everybody does copy-paste stuff. With the agents, it will be easier, but still, you need to see that somewhere in your user interface, and you need to represent it also in the user interface that it will be usable. And this is still a tough job.
So I hope you're coming all back next year. I don't know where yet, but not just to check on the death or non-death of truth, but on the topics that the panelists brought up today. There's no time for questions, but...
You can have one question.
Oh, we can? Okay, brilliant. Otherwise, I was going to say we can have questions during the course of the evening. Most of the panelists are going to stay around and are most happy to speak to any question, but we can have one question now. Anyone?
Or we do it in the coffee break.
Everybody
Let's do it in the coffee break, I think.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.